what, Dunk? Oh, Bunker Boy. Alrighty. Alright. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome to my YouTube channel. I am the Real Cass Perry, and today we are going to be doing some reactions to some fairly strange things that, well, real cult rituals that went horribly wrong by Animated Lifelines is the one that we are going to check out very specifically. So,
Look, I didn't.
let's let's be a little bit excited for that one. We're gonna get ready to maneuver ourselves around here. That works.
Didn't mean to spend 6 hours reading about cult rituals gone wrong. But then I. Look, I didn't mean to spend 6 hours reading about cult rituals gone wrong. But then I found the one with the glitter covered corpse shrine.
Oh my gosh.
And the one with.
Nobody ever means to spend 6 to 12 hours reading about cult rituals gone wrong. However, every single time somebody reads about cult rituals, that tends to be where it takes them to around 6 to 12 hours of heavily reading about all of the things that have happened throughout whenever just multitudes upon multitudes of cult rituals gone wrong. It's a little bit insane. Yeah.
With the sarin gas. Now you're coming with me. The Jonestown Massacre. It was November
Oh
18,
God, no.
1978, and Jim Jones had officially lost his grip. Somewhere in the jungle of Guyana, in a place called Jonestown, over 900 people, many of them Americans, were lined up and handed cups of cyanide-laced punch. Not metaphorically. Not.
Yep. That do be true. Scary. Scary and true. Peter? What doing? I just thought I heard something. Yeah, Jonestown was kind of a crazy, crazy, crazy feat of the multitudes of everything that is wrong with the innate human rationale. Uh, we all want to have so much hope, so much hope. But the thing is that our hope tends to lead us to some strange, insane places. Yeah.
Symbolically. Literally. Poisoned fruit drink. And yes, it was actually Flavor Aid, not Kool-Aid. Even the brand got dragged into history's worst group death. Jones
Poor
had started
Kool-Aid.
as a preacher who called for racial equality. That was back in Indiana, before things
That
got
is
weird.
not
Fast
what
forward to
he stood
California
for.
in the 70s. He's got a megachurch, political allies, and a growing God complex. When investigations started sniffing around, Jones packed up his flock and moved them to Guyana for a utopia. What he built was a jungle prison with one rule. Don't question.
Basically, the lesson here is don't listen to the crazy preacher man who is trying to move you into the jungle. Don't. Oi. There we go. I got lipstick on my cup.
Question Jim. That rule died when U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan showed up. He flew down to investigate reports of abuse. At first, things looked peaceful, but then some cult members slipped Ryan notes begging for help.
Bro basically walked into a concentration camp for people who were easily manipulated enough to be brought into it. And yeah, then he went in guns a-blazing. Let's be honest here. Let's be real.
They wanted out. That didn't sit well with Jones. As Ryan and his team tried to leave, Jones sent gunmen to the airstrip. They opened fire. Ryan, 3 journalists, and a defector were killed. And that was just the
Guns a-blazing.
opening act. Back at Jonestown, Jones gathered his people and said it was time for revolutionary sacrifice. Only plenty of folks weren't ready to die. Guards with guns made sure they drank. Syringes were used on babies. The children died first. Then their parents, then the elderly. By the end of
Why? Why are they syringing babies? What the fudge? Yeah, we wanna be morally superior, so let's all kill ourselves. Great. How are you going to spread your so-called message of moral superiority then? I can't for the life of me understand suicide cults. I really can't. Let's die for the message. Even though if every single one of us dies for our message and for our beliefs, then who is going to be alive to continue our belief system and spread our message? It doesn't make sense. I just don't get it. Maybe there's more to it. Maybe I'm just not. I just don't get it. Honestly, I really don't. I don't get it. I don't understand. It would be a very difficult feat for me to try to understand. So yeah. I don't know, man.
of it, Jones was dead, and so were 918 others. About 304 of them were kids. It was billed as a rich...
Yeah, sure, we're gonna kill all 900, and then 318 of our future, of the future of our... What the fuck? If this was... Oh my gosh. What? Okay.
Ritual of defiance. In reality, it was a mass slaughter orchestrated by a man who liked the sound of his own voice more than human life.
Yep.
Survivors later said they escaped by hiding in the jungle or pretending to be dead. The whole thing took less than a day. The bodies were found stacked, faced...
It would be pretty easy to hide in a jungle. There's a pretty famous line, one man can hide where an army cannot. And more than one person is a hell of a lot less stealthy than one dude by himself just kinda blending in with the mud. I'm gonna be real.
down, arms around each other. A so-called paradise turned into a chemical graveyard because one man with sunglasses and a microphone couldn't handle losing control.
Chemical, more like biohazard. Just piles upon piles of fucking bodies. Yahweh ben Yahweh, Yahweh's bloody loyalty tests. Oh God.
Yahweh ben, Yahweh's bloody loyalty tests. In 1980s Miami, a man named Hulon Mitchell Jr. decided he was the son of God. He renamed himself Yahweh ben Yahweh, threw on a white robe, and founded the nation of Yahweh. His followers? Hundreds. His tactics? Charisma, scripture, and violence wrapped in a messiah complex. On paper, the nation of Yahweh promoted black empowerment, economic self-sufficiency, and spiritual unity. In reality, It was a cult that dressed its criminal activity in divine language.
Yeah, that
Followers were
sounds
told
a
to
bit
purge
right.
white devils and enemies. But this wasn't just angry preaching. Members were allegedly ordered to kill and bring back proof.
So, basically, it's the Black Run version of the KKK. End of story. What? Okay, let's go commit genocide for our beliefs. What the hell is going on? The world is insane.
Proof. That proof? Severed ears. In
Yep.
1981, a series of bizarre and brutal killings swept through South Florida. The victims included homeless men, supposed informants, and ex-members. One man was beaten, strangled, and beheaded. Another had his ear cut off while still alive. Cult enforcers didn't just act out of blind rage. They were carrying out what they saw as sacred assignment.
Yeah, religious cults do some scary, weird, messed up shit. There's really no getting around it. I'll never understand how they end up going to the lengths that they go to pull some of this stuff. It's kinda, yeah. The cutting off of the ears while the person's alive, that's extreme even by, oh god.
Blood for blessings. The FBI got involved. It wasn't easy. Members didn't talk. Victims disappeared. Evidence vanished. It took nearly a decade before the case
Of course,
cracked.
the evidence would
In
vanish.
1990, a former member testified that the murders were part of initiation rituals. If you wanted to rise in Yahweh's inner circle, you had to spill blood for the cause. No murder, no promotion. That same year, Yahweh Ben Yahweh was indicted on federal racketeering and conspiracy charges.
Oh,
Prosecutors tied him
okay.
to 14 murders, though he was only convicted for one because a witness finally stepped forward.
It was probably a lot more than 14. Let's be real here. This was a cult leader. You know, historically speaking, people who ran cults were not exactly the most pious people ever. You know, lot of multitudes of wives, lot of fairly awful behavior, and the cutting off of ears while people are alive doesn't exactly instill any type of faith within me that this person did not commit multitudes upon multitudes of murders, more than 14.
Forward. He got 18 years in prison. He still claimed to be a holy man.
18,
He died in 2007.
18 fucking years? I understand that they could only actually, fully tie him to 3 with all of the evidence. However, only 14 years for 3... That's life in prison. Bro should have been in prison for life.
Wearing a turban and a smirk. People living in Miami at the time weren't just dealing with street crime. They had a cult in their city, hiding behind a tax-exempt religious label, training people to kill for power and approval. The Ant Hill Kids.
Oh my
Rush
gosh.
Therio wasn't a doctor. He wasn't
The
even
Ant
a
Hill
dropout with good
Kids.
intentions.
I don't think I've even heard about the Ant Hill Kids yet. Oh god, what the hell's about to happen here?
He was a bearded madman who convinced a bunch of people in rural
They're
Quebec
all
that
bearded
he was
madmen.
the mouthpiece of God.
Quebec.
And then he turned his
Of
cult into
course.
a torture camp with a cross on the front.
Of course, the Quebec was. For fuck's sake. Yes, obviously, if there is a torture camp run by a bearded big mouth anywhere, it's going to be in Quebec. For fudge sakes, there's no Canada like French Canada is the best Canada in the land. God damn it, why? Why? Why is it always the French Canadians? Why can't... The rest of us, we're not all that crazy. We're still knuckin' futs, but we're not that crazy. The French Canadians, they be doing the most. They be doing the most. Fucking religious torture camps, really, y'all? Don't get me wrong, I love Quebec. They make really good maple syrup sickles, but, the fuck?
The cult was called the Ant Hill Kids, and it started in 19...
I don't even like maple syrup. Like, I literally don't even like maple syrup, but they do make really good maple syrup sickles. I spent my entire life despising maple syrup up until, like, I got older and tried real maple syrup, like homemade maple syrup sickles. Holy fuck, that shit is good. Please, if you do not like maple, it's because you are eating artificial maple. Try the real shit. I swear to God. No more artificial maple bullshit. Try the real stuff.
1977.
Where was I?
He was the mouthpiece of God, and then he turned his cult into a torture camp with a cross on the front. The cult was called the Ant Hill Kids, and it started in 1977. Theroux told his followers to quit their jobs, move into the woods, and prepare for the apocalypse.
Oh, beautiful.
While the world waited for doom, he made sure he had a steady supply of power, loyalty, and absolute control. He banned contact with outsiders, made wives out of underage girls, and ran the commune like a violent playpen. They built log...
Why? Do y'all see what I mean? Every time there is a religious fanatic cult leader, they are always, and they claim to be like sent down here from heaven, and like they're literally playing God. They are honestly the least pious motherfuckers ever in the history of the world. And I'm not talking like, I am not talking your regular Baptist church preacher. I am not talking your atypical Catholic priest. I am not talking any type of, hell, even your average druid, which, if you don't know what a druid is, you should probably look that up. It's literally just the mystic version of a priest. Ha. But yeah, none of them have the God complex. The absolute God complex and the absolute certainty, and none of them claim to be the most pious person on earth. However, those people are some of the actual most pious people on earth. The people who are creating fanatic cults and claiming that they are the most pious people on earth are the least pious people on earth, and they be taking multiple child brides. So, why, in the name of sweet baby Jesus, why in the name of absolutely any and every of the gods, would anyone even remotely think that it is a good idea to follow any of these crazy people? Go to absolutely anyone who is a generally good person who has grown up studying faith and understands it. Speaking to absolutely anyone who grew up studying any type of scripture in general would be better than leaving your spiritual stability to a crazy cult leader. And I understand that there are some people who are just very easily manipulated into thinking that, oh, if you join this group, everything's going to be great, everything's going to be grand, everything's going to be beautiful and perfect. Holy hell. I think we need to figure out a way to help these people wake up before they end up getting traumatized by the crazy religious man. By the crazy religious man, not the real religious man, the crazy religious man. Oh, for Hannah's sake.
Cabins. He built terror. If you disobeyed Roch, you didn't get excommunicated. You got punished. Naked beatings, freezing, burning, and worse. He said it was God's correction. When a child...
God's correction. Okay. So... let's be honest here. If there were a physical embodiment of God, that would be his form of correction. However, you, good sir, are a man. You are not God. Those are not truly divine corrections. That is torture. Now, if you believe in God in the Christian biblical sense, then God is not truly a. I mean, the New Testament Christian biblical sense, not the Old Testament Christian biblical sense. If you believe in the New Testament, God is a forgiving, loving, beautiful, wonderful being. If you believe in the Old Testament, God is a cruel, sadistic, narcissistic fuck who wants to continually tempt and test you into sin, specifically so that you can prove to him that you will choose faith over sin in order to get into the kingdom of heaven. The Catholic sense, exactly the same thing. Religious guilt is real, it's huge. If you believe in pagan religions, then all of that being done to a human being is torturous rituals and should not actually be committed at any point in time for any reason other than extremely, extremely horrible crimes against their fellow man. You know, you kill someone, you get whipped. You kill someone, you get whipped and imprisoned. Possibly burned a little bit. Or maybe they just take your life. You know, if you kill someone, they gonna torture you, especially if it's in malice, if it's not in self-defense. But, basically, just walk a decent path, y'all. Just walk a decent path. We do not need to torture each other with fires and shit in order to be pious. That is the Lord's themselves' job. That is the job of the gods to do. It is not anybody's job other than the gods to smite each other. Karma gonna get us all. Don't worry, karma gonna get us all. Holy fuck, Doffy. If there is anybody out there who ever watches this who is thinking about becoming a religious fanatic cult leader, don't. There are other ways to live, okay? Certain this is never going to change anybody's mind, but don't do it.
Child cried.
It's bad.
He ordered the mother to spank the kid, then punish her for not spanking hard enough. By the mid-'80s, the cult had over a dozen children and more than 30 members, all stuck in a cycle of trauma, dressed up as spiritual cleansing. Then came the surgeries. Theroux called them miracles. In reality, he'd get drunk, grab kitchen tools, and perform gruesome procedures. One woman lost her arm to a meat cleaver with no painkillers. Another was cut open so violently, her injuries were beyond repair. The worst case was Solange Boilard in 1988. She complained of stomach pain. Theroux gave her a bizarre treatment with molasses and oil, then performed a crude operation on her stomach. The injuries were fatal, and she didn't survive. Here's...
So, playing God in more ways than 3. For fudge sakes, dude, you are not a doctor. Based solely on the information I just ingested alone. You are the exact opposite of anything that anybody would ever need in any type of medical setting. What in the... Oi! This dude actually needed sincere mental help. This man was not a religious leader. This man was a butcher masquerading as a religious leader. What the actual shit?
Here's where it gets worse. Therio didn't panic. He claimed he could bring her back. He ordered others to drill into her skull and carried out what he called a divine resurrection ritual. It didn't work. Her body was hidden, but not for long.
Hear that, Dad? A
The
divine
truth came out when
resurrection
another
ritual.
victim, Gabrielle Lavallee, escaped. She was missing a finger, part of her breast, and had
The
wounds
fuck?
crudely stitched with fishing line. She went straight to the police. Therio was arrested in 1989. He got life in prison. One of his victims stabbed him to death in 2011 behind bars. Superior Universal Alignment. This wasn't a jungle cult. This was a cult hiding in plain sight in small-town Brazil with beliefs that led to real-world horror. Between 1989 and 1993, the city of Altamira became the center of a disturbing string of crimes targeting young boys.
I'm afraid. What?
And behind it all was a woman named Valentina de Andrade and her group, the Superior Universal Alignment. Valentina, originally from Argentina, styled herself as a prophet. She claimed she had received messages.
Valentina from Argentina? Does she I love that. She should get that monogrammed on something. I love that her name and the place that she's from rhymes. I don't know why. Like, come on.
Valentina de Andrade and her group, the Superior Universal Alignment. Valentina, originally from Argentina, styled herself as a prophet.
Valentina came from Argentina. I feel like it should be made into a song.
Prophet.
Swear
She
to
claimed
God.
she had received messages from higher beings. One of those messages? That children born after 1981 were spiritually empty and stood in the way of Earth's future. Her followers believed her, completely, and many of them weren't outsiders. They were
What?
doctors, business owners, and even public servants. That's what made this cult.
No, good dear. Children are our future. Are these people on crack? This is a genuine question. Are these people on crack? What the fuck are they on? Can I have some? If it's small, can I have two? I just want to find out what it actually does. Just a question.
So dangerous.
I just want to know if it actually makes you go crazy. Actually, maybe I don't want to know.
It wasn't on the fringes. It was embedded in society. Over the course of 4 years, at least 19 boys disappeared. Some were later found in horrifying condition. Others were never seen again. Locals began to whisper about ritualistic practices, strange meetings in the woods, and connections no one wanted to believe.
This is this is not cult. This is occult. Meetings in the forest, strange rituals. Okay, this is not the cult. This is the occult that are it's a little bit different. Sounds like the dark occult. Not ooh.
For a long time, the authorities stayed quiet. Too quiet. Everything changed when one survivor managed to escape. Badly injured, he gave police a detailed account of what had happened. His testimony helped unravel the network of followers and sparked a full investigation.
Oh yeah.
The evidence connected cult teachings to the disappearances. That's when the public learned how deep this went. In 2003, 5 cult members were convicted of serious charges, including conspiracy and attempted murder. But Valentina, she walked free. Despite being named as the leader and ideological core of the group, she was acquitted due to a lack of direct physical evidence.
How? How? When everything that she touched went to murder? Am I missing something? If everything you touch turns to murder, how the fuck are you not convicted? Severe overhaul of the justice system. Please happen soon.
She denied everything, even after her own writings suggested otherwise. As of the latest updates, she's still alive and still not behind bars. This wasn't about cosmic energy.
How can you deny anything when you literally wrote about it? Are these broads crazy? Of course they're crazy. They're cult leaders. Oi. Well, while we're doing this, guys want to see how far I got on the blanket I'm making for Peter? Is gonna be a nice one. Isn't it pretty? It's pretty so far. I think it's pretty. Like, check this shit out. This is some master workmanship so far, if I do say so myself. I do say so myself, actually. I'm going to allow myself to be conceited about this one. Hell yeah. One thing I will actually allow myself to be a little bit cocky about, I am damn fine at crocheting. Of course, I should be. I've been doing it since I was 5. And there's a hair on my lip. Oh, it's yarn fuzz.
Energy or spiritual awakening. This was a group that twisted strange beliefs into real-world harm, hidden under layers of false light. What looked like mysticism was just a blueprint for who wouldn't make it home alive.
Oh, I hate it when I hear about shit like this. People like this make people like me look bad. What the fuck? I promise y'all, not all mystics be crazy. I swear to God, I promise.
Aum Shinrikyo's deadly gas ritual in Tokyo. On the morning of March 20, 1995, Tokyo commuters boarded their subways like it was any other Monday. What they didn't know was that 5 men were quietly placing plastic bags filled with liquid sarin, a powerful nerve agent, onto crowded trains and piercing them with sharpened umbrella tips.
Oh, lovely. So they just be trying to murder people. Great. Great. Let's just go paralyze an entire fucking city, why don't we?
This
Crazy
wasn't a
bastards.
terrorist attack by some foreign cell. It was the work of a Japanese doomsday cult called Aum Shinrikyo, led by a half-blind yoga instructor turned apocalyptic prophet named Shoko Asahara. His followers believed the world was heading for total destruction and that only they would survive and rebuild it. Asahara preached a mix of Buddhism, science fiction, and chemical warfare. He claimed to be Christ.
Oh my gosh. What the hell is up with sci-fi people and trying to become religious extremists? They also try to make up their own religions. It's a little bit over the top, if I do say so myself. And how do they get away with this shit? Like, how on earth? I understand be good, and if you can't be good, don't get caught. If you're not, as long as you're not getting caught, be careful. But what in the holy hobgoblins? How do they actually get away with this shit? How are they not getting caught? The amount of people that know about all of this stuff while it's happening, and they don't get caught until the very end, right before they all die. Nobody ever knows anything about it until they all...
The U.S. would destroy Japan. Then he said he would save it by striking first. That's where the sarin came in. Aum didn't just dream of chaos. They prepared for it. The cult built labs, created chemical weapons, and tested them on animals, and allegedly on humans. On that March morning, the attack killed 13 people.
Okay, you know that these are bad people if they be testing chemical shit on animals. You test that shit on fucking pedophiles in prisons, not the animals. Leave the animals out of it. For heaven's sakes. What's wrong with these people?
Permanently injured over 50 and temporarily sickened more than 5,000. Victims foamed at the mouth, collapsed, and choked while the trains kept running. Paramedics didn't even know what they were dealing with.
Oh,
At
wonderful.
first, they thought it was a gas leak. It wasn't. It was cult-level chemistry on a rush-hour train. Police
Yep.
raided OMS compounds days later and found stockpiles.
So, I almost forgot to mention, a lot of cults are literally just terrorist groups that think that the world's about to end, so we might as well kill as many people as possible. So, yeah! Have fun with that knowledge.
Of chemicals, weapons,
I
and
choose
documents
life.
outlining even bigger plans. They weren't done. They were just getting started. Until
Course they
Japan
were.
said otherwise. Over the next few years, dozens of members were arrested. Asahara was sentenced to death in 2004. He was
Good.
executed in 2018, along with several of his top leaders. At its peak, Aum Shinrikyo had over 10,000 followers in Japan and thousands more worldwide. They weren't isolated. They weren't disorganized. They wore lab coats, not robes. The Solar Temple transits. In the early
Oi.
90s, two European cult leaders decided that
So basically, a bunch of scientists decided to play God, such as scientists tend to decide to do. I mean, in the name of science, I kind of get it, but at the exact same time, I don't get deciding to try to take out entire cities through transit by putting chemicals in the trains and then evacuating after you poke holes in the bags. Like, come on, y'all. What are we doing? As a society, what on earth makes people think this way? Why? I just don't get
death
it.
was just the start of a very exclusive space cruise. Meet Joseph DiMambro and Luc Jouret, founders of the Order of the Solar Temple, a cult that believed dying in a ritual transit would launch them into eternal life on a planet orbiting the star Sirius. Their followers weren't uneducated or unstable. Most were middle-class professionals, bankers, doctors, even civil servants. And they all bought into this mix of New Age mysticism, Freemason knockoff rituals, and
You would think that doctors would know better? Like, come on, y'all. The doctors? You fooled the doctors? How? They supposed to be smart. They be smart people. How you fooling them? Into your crazy malarkey. I get that a bunch of doctors be crazy hippies, yes, but they're still doctors and they know better. They supposed to know better than us. What the hell?
pure delusion. Members were told that the Earth was corrupt and violent, and the only way out was
They
to
are
ascend
corrupt
through
and
plain
violent.
death. That ascension started in 1994, when 53 people were found dead in Switzerland and Quebec. Some were shot. Others were drugged and arranged in circles, dressed in
Oh,
ceremonial robes.
beautiful.
Many of the scenes
Do you see what I mean? People like this, people who do this shit, that stage crazy ceremonies where they burn in corpse circles. These are the people who make people who were raised into actual mysticism look bad. These are the people who make people who were brought up fully believing in practicing and living the life of a pagan versus this. It is literal night and day. One is growing flowers and learning about herbs and learning about different plants and poisons and medicines and learning how to tell the future with the lines in your hands and tea leaves and learning how to recite different prayers to either summon or rid spirits from your home. There are a lot of different parts of actual mysticism. This is not one of these types of things are not one of them. There are no sacrifices like people who practice a positive craft when it comes to mysticism do not practice like this. Even actual Satanists, like actual people who actually worship Lucifer don't do this shit. They live and let live. Yes. We plant a lot of weird shit in our gardens. Yes. I don't worship Satan, but I will say that I'm not fully Christian. I do read the Bible. I do go to church. I am extremely faithful. And I believe in. Well, I was raised as a mystic. I believe that something had to create everything. We don't. I believe that there is definitely more than one God. I believe in multitudes of different types of deities. I also think that there are specific gods that are loving and there are specific gods that are cruel. And that is the way that the world beyond the veil truly works in my mind. The thing is, everything in this world is made up of a specific type of energy. Literally everything in this universe is made up of energy. And we are all made of the exact same type of energy. It would be impossible to believe that something was not behind the creation of everything. But at the exact same time, it would be stupid to believe that the exact same thing was behind the creation of everything. However, where everything is created with the exact same type of energy, it's yeah, everything's made of energy. Everything once everything is broken down past an atomic level, we're all nothing but electricity. Trees are electricity, rocks are electricity, everything's just electricity. Okay? Okay. Got it good. I believe in nature. We were put here specifically to live alongside with nature and protect it. And we as a species have not been doing that. We really haven't. And within enacting not doing that, we also have a bunch of crazy people that are not only doing the opposite of exactly what we are supposed to be doing, but trying to claim the title of what we're supposed to be while simultaneously doing the exact opposite of everything that title requires you to do. How can you be completely for the protection of life and nature and the betterment of the universe while simultaneously burning circles of living beings? You can't. Uh,
Were set on fire. Some victims were found with plastic bags over their heads. One couple had been forced to kill their own child, who Dimambro claimed was the Antichrist, before dying themselves. If that sounds like the end, it wasn't.
no. No. What the fuck? Yeah, sure. Sure, let's kill our baby because some weird man says it's the Antichrist. That's not a wake up call. This is not 1400 BC. What the shit? Oh.
2 years later, another 16 members died in France, also dressed for their cosmic departure. Then in 1997, 5 more bodies were found in Quebec, laid out in a star formation, always with the robes, always
Of
with fire.
course.
All
Of course in Quebec. For fuck's sakes, why is it always in Quebec? Why is it always in the hot places or the cold places? There is something about extreme temperatures and either a lack of sunlight or too much sunlight that just drives people fucking insane. Why is it always either in the hot places or the cold places? It's always Quebec or somewhere in the desert. This is concerning. I'm starting to see a link between temperature and craziness.
always with the same letter left behind, explaining how this was not a ritual death, but a transit to another level. In total, 74 people died across 3 countries. The leaders didn't go first. They went last, after orchestrating the deaths of their closest followers. DiMambro died in 1994. Jure, too. Some say they realized they were running out of time. Others think they simply couldn't control the monster they built. The Solar Temple didn't fade out. It just stopped making headlines. The group still exists today, smaller, quieter, and very much under watch. Heaven's Gate. They wore black Nikes, drank
These
phenobarbital-laced
guys.
pudding, and carefully pulled purple shrouds over their heads. In March 1997, 39 members of
These guys are some of the craziest father muckers that I have ever read about. You're about to hear all about this. They're nutty. And the worst part is that there are still people around today who claim to be the continuation of the Heaven's Gate cult. And they're not people who got out. They're survivors. They're just people who joined and weren't there for
the cult known as Heaven's Gate laid down in a San Diego mansion and never got back up. This wasn't a last-minute decision. It was rehearsed, practiced,
Yep.
filmed. Their leader, Marshall Applewhite, said it was the only way to catch a ride on a spaceship hidden behind Comet Hale-Bopp. The ship would beam
Oh
up their souls,
no.
drop their earthly containers, and deliver them to the next level. But first, they had to die. Applewhite had been preaching this for years. He and co-founder Bonnie Nettles started Heaven's Gate back in the 1970s. It was a weird cocktail of Christianity, UFO lore, and extreme bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Members gave up relationships, family, and even names. Some underwent voluntary castration to stay pure. They saw Earth as a corrupt wasteland.
Basically, they were fucking insane, and they thought that they were going to go off to outer space to go live in the promised land because they were going to be taken by aliens, and none of it happened. It's not going to happen. It'll never happen. They were nuts. They were knuckin' futs nixed out. There's no getting around it.
And Applewhite as a divine guide to something better. When Hale-Bopp hit the news in late 1996, Applewhite decided the time had come. The cult rented a mansion in Rancho Santa Fe. They made videos explaining their decision. Calm, smiling, and disturbingly normal. They called it a final exit. They dressed in matching black outfits with patches that read Heaven's Gate Away Team. Yes, like Star Trek. Over the
Yep.
course of 3 days, the group died in shifts. They took the pills with pudding or applesauce, then chased it with vodka. Each
Fucking
person helped
insane.
the next prepare. Black cloths were laid over faces. The last 2 people used plastic bags to finish the job, then covered each other.
My question is, who the hell would be stupid enough to believe all of this bullshit? What actually makes people crazily stupid enough to believe any of this? Go on, Underdunk. You do one, bud. Oh, buddy. Here, you want to go past? You go on. That's a good boy. But yeah, what would make anybody actually, how is anybody ever actually stupid enough to go along with this? I understand that faith will make people do some crazy shit, but, I mean, the Crusades. But, what in the actual fuck? Once again, how does this speak to any type of logic? Yeah, we want to spread our beliefs and everything, so let's just kill everybody and make sure that nobody can spread our... What the fuck?
One member stayed behind just long enough to send the tapes and alert authorities. On March 26, police entered the house. Inside, they found all 39 bodies.
Absolute
neatly arranged in bunk beds
atrocities.
and cots. Identical clothes, identical shoes, No signs of struggle. Just absolute, chilling coordination. Applewhite was among the dead. Nettles had died from cancer in 1985. He claimed she had already boarded the ship spiritually and was waiting for them. Spoiler, there was no ship. No alien rescue. No level up. Just a rental mansion full of corpses and a belief system that took obedience past the point of no return. Ugandan apocalypse.
Yeah, it was a crazy bunch of batshit fuckery. The Ugandan apocalypse, I actually don't know about. I don't think I know about. I might already know about it and don't remember reading about it. I haven't read about this stuff in a while, so I remember a lot, but at the same time, I don't.
In Uganda, the new millennium didn't start with fireworks. It ended with flames and over 700 dead. The movement for the restoration of the Ten Commandments of God wasn't your average fringe sect. It was a full-blown doomsday cult that promised the world would end on January 1, 2000. When that didn't happen, things turned violent. Fast. The cult was...
Of course it did. What? Does anyone ever learn? I don't think that any of these groups ever learn from the last one. Look, y'all. Let me just dab the coffee off of my lip first here. Look, it does not matter how many people... It doesn't matter how convincing these people are. You should really learn from the multitudes of people who came before you and the multitudes of groups of people in these insane religious cults that do not preach any type of real scripture whatsoever. That none of this is real, none of this is proper. And if you actually believe in what these people are spitting at you, you're gonna get fucked up the ass, man. And you're gonna lose your life for no reason. For what? Seriously, for what? Just to find out earlier if your scripture was right? I don't think that's a good idea, man.
Founded in the 1980s by a group of former Catholic priests and visionaries, most notably Credonia Mwerinde and Joseph Kibwetere. They claimed to receive messages from the Virgin Mary and warned followers that the world had become too sinful to survive. To be saved, members had to obey the Ten Commandments, literally. That meant no lying, no intimacy, no talking unless told to speak. Even soap and deodorant.
Intimacy's not bad, and speaking your mind is a good thing. Daddy always told me, speak your mind, don't hold nothing in. You'll get in more trouble if you don't tell the truth. Don't even use your filter, girl. He probably shouldn't have taught me that. I really should have had a filter. I don't have one of those. Sometimes I'm even surprised by the shit that comes out of my mouth. But you know what? I don't think I've ever said anything that I didn't fully mean in that moment. I have changed my mind about a lot of things that I have said. However, I don't think that I've ever said anything that I didn't fully mean in that moment. I have made a lot of really bad jokes. I didn't mean what I said when I've made jokes quite often. And sometimes it's really difficult to tell the difference between when I'm joking and when I'm serious. However, I mean it when I say it. The people who run these cults are fucking insane. And to the people who join any of these cults, it does not matter how convincing they are crazy. They just want to take all of your money and your life. Run for the hills. You do not need that in your life.
Were banned. Heaven, apparently, didn't allow personal hygiene. By the late 90s, the group had gathered thousands of followers across Uganda. Many sold all their possessions and donated everything to the cult. They were promised salvation.
See?
Instead, they got a death trap disguised as a church. When the world stubbornly refused to end on schedule, followers started to ask questions.
I told her so! I told her so! Every time! Cassie's always right!
Mwerinde and the other leaders changed tactics. They announced a new date, March 17, 2000. This time,
I
it
should
wasn't
have been
just
a
the end of the
fortune
world.
teller.
It was
Too
a party,
bad I retired.
a celebration.
Uh-huh.
There'd be food, drinks, and a big send-off for the faithful. That morning, over 500 members gathered inside the cult's main church in Kanungu. The doors were boarded shut.
Of course
Candles
they
were
were.
lit, and then, an explosion. The entire building went up in flames. No one came out. When police
They seriously suicide bombed themselves inside of a fucking church? You've got to be fucking kidding me. Inside of God's house. Ooh. Ooh. You want to talk about going to hell, honey? The suicide bombing yourself and your entire cult inside of your God's house definitely isn't going to get you into heaven.
investigated the
Oi.
ruins, they expected to find evidence of a collective death. Instead, they uncovered clear signs of murder. Bodies had stab wounds.
Course.
Some were poisoned. Others
Oh,
showed
but
no
of
signs
course.
of self-inflicted harm.
But of
Later, mass
course.
graves were found on cult-owned.
There's no such like I've said so many times through this video, there is no such thing as a religious cult that is not just a bunch of butchers trying to lead lambs into a slaughter. Like, Cassie's never wrong. Cassie's always right.
Some victims
I
had
hate
been
always
buried
being
months
right,
earlier.
but I'm always
Authorities
right.
believe the leaders staged the inferno to cover up the killings and escape with the donated money. Their bodies were never conclusively found. Credonia Morinde is still wanted by Interpol. There was no rapture waiting in Kanungu. Only a
Oy.
church full of smoke and silence. The leaders vanished. Hundreds were dead. And salvation was never part of the plan.
Of course they did, because they weren't even in the building. They literally strapped a bunch of bombs all over the place in there, killed all of their fucking followers, and then fled. Like the cowards they are. They're not leaders, they're cowards. They're fucking butchers. Oi.
When the sermon ends with boarded doors and flames, it isn't faith. It's murder disguised as prophecy. Angel's Landing. Daniel Perez told his followers he was an angel. Not a metaphorical one, a literal, eternal, shape-shifting being from heaven named Lou Castro. He said he could see the future, heal the sick, and protect anyone who lived on his compound, Angel's Landing, in Kansas. All he needed was loyalty, silence, and the occasional life insurance policy. The cult's setup was slick. Perez lived like royalty. Followers, mostly women and their children, called him a prophet. He surrounded himself with money, luxury cars, and gifts, all paid for by the tragic deaths of people close to him. When someone died unexpectedly, Perez was always the listed beneficiary. But no one asked questions. If they did, they were reminded.
I don't think I can handle this anymore, guys. This is making my heart rate go up. Like, I'm actually sitting here knitting to calm myself down because I can't. What the hell did I turn on, y'all? Like, I feel like this one was not okay. Like, this stream was not okay. What the hell just what did I watch? Oy vey. So, how's everyone doing? Wow. No, what? I knew that was going to give me heart palpitations. I didn't know that it was going to make me that stressed out. What in the actual holy hobgoblins? It's a lot less stressful reading about that stuff than it is reacting to videos about that stuff. How in God's name did that become tonight's? Wow. What just happened? Oh, just relax for a second, Cassie. Get your heart palpitations down before you move on to the next subject. Have a little crochet. I can't believe that I actually got through 2 lines of. Yeah. From here to here in that short amount of time. Heh. It is almost finished. I say that, but it'll be another few days before it's actually finished. More than days, actually, possibly weeks. Believe it or not, making a blanket's a fairly long process. It takes a fairly long time. Oh, Lord. When I was a little kid, like I say, I learned how to crochet when I was about 5 years old. My grandmother McCann taught me how to crochet, knit, spool, weave, basically every type of yarn work under the sun. I was actually pretty good at it at a really young age, actually. She was fairly impressed. She was quite proud of me for that. Hate to toot my own horn. But you know what? I'm fairly glad that my grandmother was proud of me for something, even if it was something as silly as yarn work of all things. So she used to literally sit me on her lap and wrap her arms around me and put her head right here on my shoulder or on this side sometimes and look over my shoulder to crochet and tell me to watch what she was doing to learn how to do it. Never ever taught me how to read a pattern. She taught me how to figure out the patterns to make things inside of my head. You don't need a pattern, girl. You just gotta practice a few times and figure out how it's made. Take it apart, put it back together. Every single time. Here, learn a few new stitches, sweetie. Figure out how to make it into something. Oh, and the elephants. Oh, my land. She used to collect elephants. She would put elephants everywhere. Everywhere there was an elephant. There were at least 3 to 25 elephants in every room, except for the living room. The living room was stuffed full of elephants. She used to have me and a couple of my cousins take down all of her elephants, dust them all, and polish them, all of the metal ones, put them all up exactly where we found them. Not a single one was allowed to be out of place, and we had to count them all. At one point, I'm sure that she got more since the last time I counted them. The last time that I did it, I was around 17 ish. She had about 3,485 elephants just in the living room alone. Most of those were metal. She had a lot of elephants. Lot of elephants. Elephants everywhere. Really loved elephants. Oh. And roses. She had a gigantic rose garden. So my nan had a lot of kids. She had Uncle Bobby, 6. One girl and 5 boys. and they were rowdy. And out in the front yard, she had 6 rose bushes, one for each of the kids, and she had a different type of rose bush for each kid. And she also had 2 other ones on each side, one for her and one for my grandpa. And as well as that, she had her little vegetable garden that she put in tote pans up against the side of her house. She was so cute. She always grew her potatoes in old tires from the dump. Oh, my grandma was cute. My grandma was adorable. I miss my nanny. Every time we'd go into the porch, if anybody was even a single octave too high during Maury or Jerry Springer, it was, "Oh, geez, you fellas, why can't you just quiet down and go outside for once?" Oh, Nam was funny. Oh, lordy. This seems kind of silly, but every single time I pick. Well, it's actually not silly. I got rid of all of my. When Nan passed, I got rid of all of my old knitting stuff. Mostly because I inherited hers and I didn't want to have ginormous amounts. I mean, I didn't have as much before as I did now. I was expecting 5 crochet hooks and 6 sets of knit needles, not baskets upon baskets of string needles and literal cases of crochet hooks. I should have known better. My grandma was a hoarder and collected things, and I should have known a lot better than to think that it would be otherwise for the knitting stuff. I really should have. In my defense, I always thought that all of Nan's knitting stuff was directly beside her chair, because, that's what I do. All of my knitting stuff is directly beside my chair, especially my favorite hooks that I always use right there. Always. No ifs, ands, buts, or questioning it right there. But, however, Nan had mountains upon mountains of more knitting things than she kept beside her chair. She just only kept her favorite tools to use beside her chair. God love my grandma. Apparently, she had a gigantic closet full of spare knitting stuff and yarn that nobody knew about until the bittersweet end. Huh. I don't know why I keep getting all sentimental here lately. There's something wrong with me. Oh, Jilly Crawley. Well, anyways, I